No, I'm not putting a tiny child on a hook and tossing him out there. If you like the Ned rig, you're gonna love the Tiny Child rig.
Keeping KastKing lit with Joe.
Pockets and pockets on top of pockets and more pockets.
Keeping KastKing lit with Joe.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Keeping KastKing Lit with Joel P. Today, we're going fishing and we're going to try out the Tiny Child rig. That's right, the Tiny Child rig. No, I'm not putting a tiny child on a hook and tossing him out there. If you like the Ned rig, you're going to love the Tiny Child rig. So what this is kind of an updated version of the Ned. You know, I seen it on YouTube and, you know, I watched a guy, actually the guys that started using it were using it to catch smallmouth bass in a river. And a lot of the places, you know, they were having to toss into some log jams and some other stuff. Well, even on a weedless Ned rig, if you notice the wires on it, you know, it has the two wires kind of that dangle. If you get the weedless version, it still tends to snag up sometimes. So the guys that created this, you know, they utilize pretty much the same setups for a Ned rig. The only difference is the hook is a different, you know, they're using you can use a neko hook either from a size 1 to a size 3 or 4, depending on how big of a soft plastic you use. I'm using a Hula Stick from Z-Man, which, you know, it's a little bit longer than a traditional Ned, and it's got some fingers on the top, you know, like that. So anyway, I'll show you how to rig it on the water, and let's see what we can catch with it. Hey, before we go any further with this, click the like button, click subscribe, and stay in the little bell, you know, little ding 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 ding. Click that too. That way you can stay notified when KastKing does new videos, and you can also stay notified when I do new videos on the KastKing channel. And hey, leave some comments, let me know what you think. Yeah, it's gonna be a hot one today. Hot. All right, see you guys. So got this largemouth. It had that flicker shad in its mouth where it broke off, and I caught it using the Tiny Child rig. So here's another one on the Tiny Child rig. You know, you can see how the plastic runs just right up the line, you know. And so far I've caught this 2 species off of this. It's just really fun to throw. So I've got, as you can see behind me, you know, I've got bluebird conditions here, but you know, I'm just using this Tiny Child rig and throwing it, like I said, in the shade up against the bank, and just kind of working it away. The thing that I like about this is that it's weedless, you know, and it's you know, not hanging up on anything. This one kind of got the hook a little deeper than I would have liked it to have gone. Let's see if we can get this out of here. Performing some waterside surgery here, but anyway, yeah, it's just fun to throw this. I really like it. You know, I came across it, like I said, the guys that kind of came up with this was kind of another alternative. Instead of throwing a Ned, you know, they were using it on the river for smallmouth. So, you know, I seen it and was like, hey, that's kind of cool. You know, I watched some videos on it, and yeah, so this is kind of what I'm doing. This isn't a little, there we go. This isn't a bad, got it out. Not actually, not too shabby. You know, nice little small, largemouth. Ready to go about a pound and a half. All right, so I'll kind of show you how I'm rigging the Tiny Child Rig. You know, I'm using a Z-Man Hula Sticks, and generally, you know, the head is where you want to run the hook through, but on the Tiny Child Rig, you want to run it through the tail end. No matter what bait you're using, soft plastic bait you're using, you know, start it at the tail end, because you want to give it the appearance like kind of like a Ned rig. You know, that's what this is, you know, kind of based off of. And you know, almost like you're gonna Texas rig it. There we go. You know, and oops, it'd help if I didn't hold the little piece of plastic there. You know, and run that up a little bit. And what I have noticed on the Tiny Child Rig, you know, if you use that mushroom head weight, it's a little bit, I'm not gonna say harder to skip, but it just, you know, that mushroom headed weight kind of tends to want to roll, you know, kind of do some funky things and might try to come off here. So what I'm going to use is a nail weight, you know, and I'm just going to run that nail weight down inside the head portion, actually, is how you want to do it. So just make sure you get it in there good and straight. And then what I like to do is push it in there with the Z-Man Elastex. You know, I push it in there as far as I can get it and kind of work it down in so you can't see the head, and then there's no chance of that head wanting to pop back out. You know, you could use a lighter too and just kind of melt the insertion point where you stuck it, but I'm not going to use a lighter to do that. And there you go, you know, Tiny Child Rig. You know, and like I said, you can cast this stuff into, you know, some pretty amazing stuff, you know, gnarly stuff. And it, you know, with the Ned rig, you can still kind of get snagged even if you run a weedless Ned head. This option, or this way, with the Tiny Child Rig, you can't. It's a little harder to snag. If you have your hook just skin hooked, it generally works the best and won't snag up on you. So that's how you rig the Tiny Child Rig. And since I'm fishing it around really heavy hard cover, meaning the logs and timber in the water, I'm using a medium heavy action spinning rod, and I'm using a 2-to-1 gear ratio spinning reel. This is the Speed Demon by KastKing, and I've got it, you know, matched up with some braid and fluorocarbon. So I've got like 20-pound braid, and then I've got like 10 to 8 pound fluorocoat on here. Actually, you could use fluorocarbon if you choose. I like using the fluorocoat, and that's what's been helping me catch fish today. So, all right. So I'm going to show you the setup that I'm using. So this is the Tiny Child Rig. I made some modifications for me to use it. The guys that originally used it were using a neko hook, and they were using anywhere from like a size 1 clear up to a size, I think, 3 or 4. But I'm actually using a worm hook, and I'm also using a mushroom head weight. So what I'm using for bait though is I'm using the Z-Man Elastex. So you can use any Elastex on this. I would prefer, you know, I'm going to prefer to use Elastex, and the reason why is so when they hit it, what happens is the bait actually runs up the line and it just leaves the hook in. But I think after so many hits with the regular worm, it's probably just going to fall right off. You know, regular plastic is probably going to fall off. So this is, I'm just going to go with the Elastex on this one. And the other thing that makes this setup actually pretty good is you can fish it in cover. You know, it's just another option besides the Ned. And I've been casting up close to the bank and reeling it, you know, kind of around the tree branches and stuff that are in the trees or in the water, and that's where I've been getting my hits. So it's not snagging up, which I really like, you know. So there you go. That's it. The Tiny Child Rig. So off for another one. So let's see what kind of fish this. Let's see what kind of fish this Tiny Child Rig is producing. You know, this is actually pretty fun. So far, I think I'm on 3 species. Just caught a pretty nice bluegill on it too. This is fun. This is so much fun. I mean, not bad. Not bad at all. So, man, that Tiny Child Rig, I just caught this one on. Little perch. Yeah, that thing's pretty cool. So, I didn't come up with it, but let me kind of tell you what I did. The original setup, I guess the guys were using it to catch smallmouth on the river. And they were actually using a neko hook. I think anywhere from going from size 1 up to 2 or 3. I think 3. So what I did though is I am actually using a worm hook in a little bit bigger Ned. This is actually the TRD from Z-Man. So this is the TRD from Z-Man, and you can actually see I have a mushroom head weight on there. And so what I found out, or what I figured out, is using just a regular worm hook instead of a Ned or a neko hook, using a worm hook instead of So we're gonna get ready to kick this one loose. We'll get him. There he goes. So just to give you an idea of what I'm working around, you know, I'm tossing it under, you know, a lot under that stuff, all there along the bank. About it, you know, just working that shoreline, especially in the shade. So and that's where I'm catching them at. So time to say goodbye to this one. There she goes.